Hi, my name is Dian Teguh Fibrianti, and my student number is 123241065. And this podcast or this video is made for my last assignment or my final exam of the course Western Cultural Civilization. So, in this podcast, we will discuss about Orientalism. Like, what is Orientalism and where it came from, or basically just anything about it. So, there is a thought in the academic world where we try to be neutral and fair, it's impossible to be 100% unbiased. You know why? Because we all carry our own beliefs, our own experiences, and our own identities. Things like where we came from, or our religion, and even our gender. It all influence how we see the world. So we have different perspectives, so it's not about right or wrong. It's just about how we as people, as humans, are different. So that is why some scholars today they are trying to be more aware of their bias and work with it instead of pretending to be neutral and ignore it. In the 19th and 20th century, there was a term for these researchers. They are called the Orientalists. They are focusing to study or to research the Orient. The Orient is a word that reverts vocally to the east, mostly meaning countries in Middle East and North Africa. At the time, being an Orientalist was seen as like a prestigious job, like being fluent in Arabic and Persian and also exploring different cultures. And some of them actually genuinely love the traditions or the cultures that they study. But later on, it was revealed that there was a bigger problem that hides underneath all this research. And this is where the major shift happened, all thanks to a Palestinian scholar named Edward Said. So, in 1978, Edward Said wrote a book called The Orientalism. And in this book, he pointed out that actually many writings of the Orientalists were driven by colonial mindsets. Like, the Britain and the France, basically the Western empires, were dominating large parts of the world, right? Including the Middle East. And the way the scholars write about the East, it actually supports the domination, the control of the Western Empire. They often portray the East as strange, backward, and overall just need the guidance of Western. Meanwhile, the Western was framed as modern, rational, and just overall superior. And this narrative wasn't just spread in academic books, it was spread on literature, politics, and even pop cultures. And Edward's side point has been clear, like the knowledge had been used as a way to dominate. Like, for example, Muslims were often portrayed as fanatical or violent, and Middle Eastern women was often hypersexualized and seen as helpless and oppressed. And worst of all, people from this region was almost never given the chance to speak for themselves. They are seen as the object of the study, not subjects with actual voices. And this led to a big question. Can you really understand a culture if you're always looking at it from the outside and through your own lens? So basically, Said's book shook things up. Like some scholars felt attacked, And some of them also realized that he actually had a point. And since then, the term Orientalism was taken on the negative meaning. So it's no longer just about study about the East, but about doing it in a way that reinforces harmful stereotypes and power imbalances. But today, things are changing. In universities and research, there is a growing push to listen more to local voices, like the people within the cultures that are being studied. And scholars are encouraged to reflect on their own and ask tough questions like, whose story am I telling? And am I allowing people to speak for themselves? And of course, this doesn't mean that we should throw away all the writings of the Orientalists. Some of them are actually valuable, and it does mean that we should understand the historical context and just learn from the past mistakes. Also, we should be careful to not flip the problem the other way around by assuming that all Western scholars are bad or they have an agenda. Dismissing someone just because they're from the West also creates the same kind of us versus them thinking that Orientalism did. So, if someone from the West studies about the East today, are they automatically an Orientalist? Well, it depends. If they repeating the same harmful stereotypes and ignoring local perspectives, then maybe yes. But if they do their work with care and more awareness and respect the locals, then they are probably doing something very, very different. At the end of the day, it's not about where you are from, it's about how you listen and how you tell the story. I think that is all for my podcast, and I hope this podcast helped you to understand about Orientalism clearer. And if you want to dive deeper about it, you can definitely check out Edward Said's book. It's probably challenging, but it's worth it. So, thank you for listening, and that is all from me. Thank you.